What we're getting ready to do next is create the back side of the polo tee. But one thing that I realized is I didn't add puffs to my sleeve. So we know that with a polo tee, there's a slight puff in the sleeve. So we're gonna do this really quickly. I want you to go and select the last sleeve that you created, select it and delete. You're going to hit Command plus or zoom in just a little bit so you can see exactly what you're doing to the first sleeve. So you're going to click on the direct selection tool, you click on that sleeve, and then you go back over to the pen tool, but you're going to go down to where it says add anchor point. So you need to add an anchor point. With that, you're going to click about here on your sleeve to add that anchor point, and then you're going to take the right arrow on your keyboard and we're going to puff your sleeve out by hitting the key maybe about 5 times. So I'm going to click the arrow right 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As I'm looking at it, it's not puffing out enough for me, so I'll say 7. 1, 2. So I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to click about here, and I'm going to hit the left arrow key 7 times to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's going to add a slight curvature to the sleeve that makes it look like it's a puff. So I hit Command minus to zoom out. So now you should be able to see the difference. So what you'll do is select your sleeve. You'll hit you'll hit O for reflect. Hover over the guide with your mouse, hold down the Option key and click. Make sure vertical axis is selected. Copy. Perfect. So with that being said, your sleeve, it automatically copies and reflects to the opposite side. So right there, we should be done. Now let's take a look at the layers panel. I'm going to click on the layers panel and make sure that nothing is locked. The only thing that should be locked should be our layer 1. Everything else should be freed up. If you already created these different layers and named them and locked them, make sure that you release the lock. So what we want to do is I'm going to zoom out and select the entire t-shirt or polo. We're going to select that. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key and just drag my polo over. So with that, I just made a copy of it. And let's see what happens if I lay it back over the front. I want to make sure that every area of my polo tee is pulled. So it's not grouped together, so I'm going to hit Edit, Undo. I want to make sure that I group everything together. So let me select this again. And I'm going to group my object. So Object, Group. Now my polo should be grouped together. So if I lay this on top of the other, this is what it'll look like. So I'll see the front view of my flat. So I'm just going to slide this back over. And we're going to go into isolation mode. So let's just double click on our flat. Or actually, let's come out of isolation mode. Hit Command plus. And we're going to start to delete some of the areas that we don't need. So we actually don't need the placket. We don't need that. So let's click on that, hit delete. We don't need the front of the collar. So we'll click that, hit delete. I'm going to go back to my direct selection tool. Click and drag this up. Go back to my selection tool. Click on the white space of the page. And then we'll click on the direct selection tool. Click on the collar. And what we're going to do, we're going to take the arrow key and just move the collar down just a little bit. I'm sorry, let me back that up because a different part of the collar is being moved down. So let me hit edit, undo, move, edit, undo, move, edit, undo, move, edit, undo, undo, move. Bear with me, guys. I want to just make sure that I get back to where I need to go. Okay, perfect. So I want to hit the selection tool. I'm sorry. Direct selection. Click the anchor tool. Click here and drag the collar up. Go back to the selection tool. Click on the white space. Now you're going to click with the selection tool selected. You're going to click on the collar. And now let's just try to take it down with the arrow. So now since that's selected with the black arrow, you're going to take the down arrow key on your keyboard and move the collar down. Yes, that's what we want. What we wanted to do was just have the collar sit directly on top of this. So I'm going to select it again in a closer view so that you see it. I'm going to press down the arrow button, the arrow key on my keyboard. Perfect. So when you look closely, it'll look as though the collar is sitting directly on top of the back part of your shirt. So let's zoom out. And I want to group all of this together just so we don't have any issues. So I'm going to hit Object, Group, and let's see if it's grouped together with no problem. Perfect. So I'm going to hit Edit, Undo, Move. I'll select the front of my flat, move it over. I'll bring it down just a little bit. I can select both of them, move this over, drag them over to the middle, and I'll click on my first layer, the toggle, so you'll see the front and back of my flat, actually polo flat. So what you can do, you can actually save your work, save as, call it polo flat, save it as an AI document. That way you can always go back and change it. You'll click Save As. Save it as an AI document, and then when you're ready to create your layout, you will create the layout, then save it as a PDF for an AI layout. That way you can, once you save it as a PDF, you'll be able to upload it into any programs like Blackboard and things like that. So that's pretty much it. Remember, once you save this under a different name, you'll still be able to open up your start file. And after that, you're good to go. You can take these same techniques and tools to create your button-down shirt. So with that, I'm going to challenge you to create your own button-down shirt using the techniques and the tools that we use here and all of the other tutorials that we use, the different tips and tools that you use to create those, to create your button-down shirt.